What's a kink you didn't know you had and how did you discover it? Had a very naughty skydiving instructor who whispered in my ear before we skyride as he pulled me onto his lap from behind to harness me to him. It's my go-to fantasy now. So I guess being in a plane sandwiched between two men with a harness on is now my very weird specific kink, haha. Being tied up, I was surprised at how much I liked it. Praise kink, 100% gets me. I really like being manhandled by my husband. Discovered it while me and my husband were having one time and I told him to be a little rough on me. He started manhandling me in a way that was sexy for me. He would pull my hair slightly, get me to be in different positions, twist my hands slightly, etc., and all of this led me to have the best kinda. I have never told him that I like being manhandled. I tease him and irritate him knowingly so that he will handle me the way I like it. It's just something I keep to myself for extra pleasure, grinning face with smiling eyes. Taking lingerie pics of myself. A couple years ago husband was out of town for 2 nights. On the first night he requested a dirty picture. However, I was being lazy on the sofa, watching my favorite show, and eating Doritos. So I put my cell phone on the dining room table, turned around, and took a picture of my waist. My PJ pants were slightly lowered and you could see a lacy in the top of my crack. He went nuts about it. He said he couldn't take a better picture if he tried. So now, I buy specific lingerie only for pictures. It's cheap things that don't fit me well or at all, but I'm thinking of angles and backdrops. Sometimes I'm eager for him to leave and I take my pic and send it to him unrequested. I'm especially happy about it because we've been together for almost 30 years, and for me to be thinking of new ways to surprise both of us is really exciting. Licking. Never thought I would like it but decided to do it one morning after the guy I was with had showered and really enjoyed it. I'm honestly not sure what it is and I'm sure some people will find me strange, lol. But I love when my partner covers my mouth during, just the muffle sounds and how hot it makes my breathing, or when he puts his fingers in my mouth. Started when we were teenagers having while the other's parents were at home, lol. I've always been a pleaser but I didn't realize how much I love being submissive in the bedroom till I had with a man who was a dom. Listening to him commanding me to service him and other things was so hot. The fact that being degraded and praised at the same time makes things weirdly more fun. Praise. He randomly said it during lovemaking and I liked it. In hindsight, with the harsh upbringing I've had, it's not even that surprising. Calling my partner a good boy. He was being good so I told him and patted him and the reaction I got was amazing. I did it with someone else and they looked confused, just goes to show how different everyone is. Turns out I'm actually really dominant in bed. I thought I was submissive until I explored kink with my husband. There was this guy that I've been sleeping with a few years ago. One time we were just cuddling in his bed, and out of the blue he started to whisper in my ears, describing what he would do to me, in like, a very very detailed and sexy way. He didn't even need to touch me and I almost came, lol. His confidence added an extra layer to it. I tried dirty talk with others too, but nobody ever came close to him, haha. 2. Getting my butt slapped while being. It does something to me that I can't describe, lol. 3. Hard rubbed against my. I'm not sure why, I just love it. +1. A guy once put his finger in my mouth while I started on it, and he was enjoying it so much, it was surprisingly sexy to me. I did this to other guys as well and they all seemed to love it a lot, lol, and seeing how much they enjoy it just turns me on too. I used to see a guy who liked edging. It was his kink. He would edge for weeks and then he'd sleep with me. It prolonged his experience with me and it was enjoyable. We also talked dirty. I have never met anyone like him ever again and never met anyone who wanted to do that. I still think of him sometimes, smiley face. Getting slapped on the during. Husband did that when we were first dating and it nearly floored me and I immediately commanded again, lol. That surprised both of us. Being called a good girl, 100%. He said it once in a voice message. I will keep that voice message forever. Also just generally pleasing my man. I'm actually enjoying for the first time in a long time and discovering more along the way. He's the most gentle kind person ever, so anytime he gets a little bit dominating it just does something to me, smiling face with open mouth and cold sweat. Apparently there is this kink called body worshipping and I only found out about it recently. I like making my man feel good and worship my boyfriends as often as let me. Didn't know it was a thing. Face with tears of joy. Being physically dominated, but still in a loving way. A few months ago I was laying on my tummy and my BF was massaging me. I had my arms above my head. At one point he laid his body on mine, moved all my hair to the side, gently but firmly held my arms down with his big strong hands, and kissed my neck all over. I was unable to formulate a sentence to tell him how much I loved that for a good few minutes after. It was a surprise to both of us. Being cream-pied. I've taken it for granted during many years under birth control and didn't realize how much it impacts my pleasure to feel my partner inside me until I had to stop taking birth control for medical reasons. Short guys. I always dated men taller than me. I thought it was a romantic thing as you see in movies to be picked up by a tall man and feel like a doll. Feck that, I'm dating this guy that's shorter than me. I'm pretty tall for a girl. He is making me feel like Lady Dimitrescu for Resident Evil, and he is fanboying over his tall lady like he is Markiplier. I've never felt more sexy. It wasn't a kink until I wore heels, and he planted his face between mine and said, "You are a goddess." Even if things don't work out between us, not a single soul can take that experience away from me. Priest kink. All I have to say is Fleabag. Sniffing. A gynecologist recommended checking my discharge for foul smell after a bad episode of UTI. Once I was okay, the smell became addictive. The healthier the diet, the better the smell, and great way to turn myself on. I've never tried someone else's underwear, but definitely find my own amazing to smell. It also reflects my eating patterns and health really accurately. For science and pleasure. A weird combination of praise kink and milder verbal degradation. I lost my mind when my ex called me a good girl, especially after I came. I also loved him being dominant in general. I'm an assertive boss type IRL with my together, so it's amazing to let someone else tell me what to do, and praise me for doing it well. It just made me want to do it more. Then on random occasions while fooling around, he would call me a dirty girl, dirty little, or little. I was shocked that I liked it so much. But I had a huge amount of trust for him, and as someone who has been routinely shamed by men for my high libido, I found a big sense of ownership hearing that from someone who adored and respected me so much. Being spanked. I've been slapped on the butt never repeatedly until recently. He just kept going and poof, new kink unlocked. I'm 47 LOL. I have lots of them, but one I recently discovered and don't ever talk about, was during when my so said something about inside me and I instantly had a great. I don't want to get pregnant at all, but now I think I have a breeding kink. Body hair on a man. I didn't know how much I liked it until men started shaving and manscaping. Guys moaning. It's not even because it's letting us know we're doing a good job. Just hearing a guy moan and breathy makes me tingly anywhere, doing anything. I like to be lovingly dominated. Like, I have a male friend who I feel safe and secure with. And it turns me on so much how he sort of guides me when we are out. It is all very platonic and and never in a million years would I tell him how hot it makes me. I also think I may have a bit of a kook queen kink, although I have never actually had that experience. But I have always had this weird dream, I have had this recurring dream since I was 20, that I had a partner who was mentally 100% devoted to me, but would occasionally tell me he was going to have with another woman, and then describe their time together afterward. It has always made me really turned on, but I also know it will never happen because I don't think there is a man that is capable of being that honest and open while also being a safe person to me. Swallowing. I love it, how it tastes, how it feels. I've only had 2 partners. First was a smoker and drinker and lived pretty much entirely on salt, was awful. Current is healthy, hydrated and eats fruit, and honestly I love it, it's so intimate and sexy. I have a kink for listening people have. I discovered it when I had a roommate, guy, who would have his girlfriend over sometimes. Very sexy. Math kink. I like when GF tries to stump me with math equations, so we accidentally brought it to the bedroom. Also a rain kink. I get better and get more aggressive if I can see or hear rain. Through Tumblr. It was a drawing of a clothed couple where it was clear he had a vibrator on / in him, and she held the remote for it and said something teasingly / lovingly to him. They both smiled, he was blushing and it was just so hot in a sweet way, and I was like, okay, when can I do this and with who? I'm usually instantly turned off by anything even remotely pornographic, but man, that particular picture triggered something in me. I could never find the right term for it, but it's like exhibitionism, but when you don't get noticed. I was fingered under the tablecloth at a dinner with some 20 people at the table, and the fact that it was happening without anyone noticing was so hot to me. I love being called a good girl. I was sexting with someone and he called me a good girl and it made me weak at the knees. Freeze, someone on Reddit explained it to me. Feet. When man kisses my feet, take off my socks. Just feels so intimate and it's like he worships me. Long answer and mobile, so I apologize. I don't know if there's a name for this or if it's a kink, but one time when I was with an ex, I was in bed and he was on his computer, and he told me to grab my toy, a rabbit vibrator. Then he tells me to put it inside but not touch it. He starts controlling it through an app on his phone and tells me to stay still. Then while he's looking at things on his computer, he's just casually talking to me like nothing else is happening. Asking me my opinion on things he's looking at. Making me answer questions. And when I moan, he keeps saying this like, "What's wrong with you? Why are you making so much noise? What's got you making those noises, mm?" And when I would tell him it feels good, he'd go, "What feels good?" And I'd say the vibrator on my, and he'd go, "Okay, well keep going, or yet. Do you want to?" And for some reason him asking me that always got me super close, so I'd be squirming and moaning and saying yes, and he'd go, "Not yet, keep going." It just drove me crazy. No one has done it since and I want to do it again so badly. Also calling men daddy. There's this new guy I'm talking to and I had no idea if he'd be into it, but one night he asked me a question and all I said was a simple yes. And he goes, say yes again. And we went back and forth like that a few times and he goes, "Yes, daddy." And instantly I became super ultra mega, couldn't breathe, couldn't focus. I was like, yes, oh my, yes daddy. Not to mention he just knows all the right things to say. We were on the phone and I was touching myself and he goes, "How close are you?" And I'm like, "I can get myself close but I don't want to finish yet." And he goes, "No? Why not?" And I said, "Because it felt good." And he goes, "But I want you to finish for me," and that was all I needed to get super close. And then as I'm getting closer he keeps saying, "That's it, good girl, for me. Be a good little girl and for me," and I was like, how does this man know what to say to me? Super hard, I loved it. Praise, like good girl. A friend said it to me non-sexually once, and it was over for me. Free use. My husband has permission to in my mouth at any time, no matter what I'm doing. The more he uses me, like face, the better. A butt plug. My very sexually adventurous friend bought me one. She talked about how she loves it and I'm like, really? I hate. I used it with my man. From both of us. Highly recommend. Use. I'm not sure how it's called, but knowing that people get off of me. I posted a picture on my Instagram and then a guide med saying how hard I made him. At first I ignored him, but I kept thinking about it every day. I was surprised to find that something about that just made me so. Eventually I became more confident in taking sexy pics and sharing them, and it got me into a job I love and enjoy. So I'm very glad I discovered that kink. Being choked. My partner gently squeezed my neck one time and I told him to do it harder, and now it's a turn on, lol. Breeding. LOL. I didn't even know there was a term for it, but yet. It's very intimate. I like watching my husband with another woman. This came about when I was about 1 month postpartum. I made a joke to another woman about sleeping with my husband and she agreed. Now it's one of my favorite things. Daddy, DDLG, kink, and I discovered it when a guy asked me to call him daddy while we sexted. It started growing on me, and the more I learned about it the more it fit me and what I like in a dynamic. Please no judgment, this is my kink, it doesn't have to be yours. I love being told I'm a good girl during face with tears of joy. I was the same, until I dated a guy who would do whatever I wanted. I liked the idea of being dominated, but I'd tell him exactly how to do it and what I wanted, yet it took me a while realize I was the DOM. Now I don't want it any other way. I've always been really interested in and thought I was a sub. But for some reason it just didn't hit right most of the time, it felt kinda cringe. But I had a man tell me recently that I could essentially use him however I wanted, and I have not stopped thinking about it ever since. Agreed with the finger thing. So hot, no idea why, but I love it. I need to experience that loudly crying face. I was kneeling over a man's face one time and he spanked me hard, instant. And now I know what to ask for, lol. Removed. Same thing for us here, shocking discovery, face with tears of joy. Second this. Lovingly dominated is the way. This. Super gentle, conscientious, kind, consent-oriented guy. But when he accidentally found out I had a thing for light pressure on my neck, not anything close to asphyxiation kink, well hello Mr. In Control. We thought that might turn into things like hair pulling etc, but it doesn't, it's just the warmth of his hand and the thought that he could hold me there, but I have absolute control to be vulnerable like that with total safety. Same. My man is sooooo considerate, kind, gentle etc. throughout the day, so seeing him be rough and aggressive is sooooo a turn on. I switch between make love to me and good throughout the day.